Learn to say no. Most of you don't have a discipline problem. You have a people-pleasing problem, and it shows up in ways so normal you've stopped noticing it. Someone asks you to do something. Hang out. Come through. Stay longer than you planned. You don't really want to go. You know that before you even respond. But instead of just saying no, you pause for half a second and then say yes anyway. Not because you want to, because it's easier. Because saying no feels like starting something. Like you'll come across weird or difficult or cold. So you just go along with it. And in the moment, it feels like nothing. Just a small adjustment. No big deal. But that habit is way bigger than it looks. Because every time you say yes when you mean no, you're teaching yourself that your own decisions don't matter. You're training yourself to override what you actually want. And the dangerous part is it never feels like a serious moment when it's happening. You're not standing there thinking this is going to cost me my whole day. You're just thinking, yeah, sure, all right, why not? And that's exactly how it happens. That's how your day stops being yours. Not from one big choice, but from a chain of small ones. Each one feeling harmless until you look up and realize the whole day went somewhere you never chose. I've had this happen with my own content. I'd planned to record. The idea was clear. The time was there. I was actually ready to go. And then one random thing would come up. A message, a conversation, something that seemed small. I'd say yes to it without really thinking. And suddenly I wasn't in control of the day anymore. I was reacting, just moving with whatever was happening instead of deciding anything. And once that starts, it's really hard to reverse because now your focus is scattered. Your momentum is gone. The plan you had feels distant. And your brain starts looking for reasons to just leave it for tomorrow. That's what one yes leads to. Not just a wasted hour, a wasted day. And quietly, underneath all of it, a message you keep sending yourself, that what you want doesn't really matter. Do that enough times, and you stop taking yourself seriously. I've been in situations where I already knew I shouldn't go somewhere. Not for any dramatic reason, just because I knew it was a waste. I knew it before I left the house, but I went anyway. And the whole time I was there, I kept thinking, why am I even here? And that feeling is its own kind of damage. Because you knew. You knew before you said yes. You just didn't listen to yourself. And that's the actual problem. Not other people. Not circumstances. You stopped listening to your own read on things. People think saying no is the rude option. It's not. Saying yes when you don't mean it is worse. Because now you're being fake with someone else and weak with yourself at the exact same time. And it doesn't stay contained to small stuff. It scales. It starts with agreeing to hang out when you didn't want to. Then it becomes agreeing to stay somewhere you're not comfortable. Then it's going along with something you don't actually believe in because everybody else is, and the group pressure makes saying no feel like making a scene. You don't want to be that person. So you say nothing. You go along. And now you're somewhere you never wanted to be, doing something you never agreed with, all because you were scared of one word. And people don't track how far this can travel. Not every situation goes sideways, but enough of them do. And even outside of obvious risk, this pattern is destroying your everyday life. You're saying yes to distractions, yes to time wasters, yes to whatever pulls you away from the thing you said actually matters to you. And then you sit there confused about why nothing is moving, why you feel behind, why you can't seem to stay consistent. The answer is right there. You keep protecting the wrong things and abandoning the right ones. Here's what really compounds it over time. If you can't say no, you can't build anything because nothing gets protected. You might say you want to build a channel, a skill, some kind of income, something real. But every time something random comes along, you drop it. Not because you had to, because you didn't say no. And that sounds minor, but it kills progress quietly. Because building anything real requires time that's actually yours. Focus time, uninterrupted time, time when nothing else is pulling at you. And if you're always available, always agreeable, always going along with whatever shows up, you never get that window. So you end up in this loop where things keep getting started and nothing ever actually grows. I've watched it happen with my own videos. I'd finally sit down to record, actually ready, locked in, no excuses. Then something interrupts. And instead of just saying no and continuing, I'd stop and deal with it. And once you break that state, it's over. You don't come back with the same energy. It feels heavier. The momentum is gone. And most of the time, you don't even restart that session. That's how things die. Not because you weren't capable, because you didn't protect them. And that's really all saying no is. It's protection, not just from other people's requests, but from your own drifting. Because if you don't guard your time, something will always fill it. And usually not with something that's moving you forward. So you end up busy but stuck. Always doing something, never building anything. And the reason is simple. You're giving your time away too easily. You don't need more motivation. You need to be able to look at something and just say, no, I'm not doing that. Even when it's uncomfortable. Even when someone looks at you sideways for a second. Even when you feel slightly out of place. Because that moment passes. The habit of folding doesn't. And people notice it, not always consciously, but in the way they treat you. If you always adjust, always accommodate, always make yourself available, people start expecting that. They ask more. They take more. Not out of malice. Because you show them it's fine. You show them you'll say yes. And once that's the expectation, your time is never really yours. This is where the whole thing comes together. If you can't say no, you don't actually run your life. Whatever is most convenient in a moment does. And that's how people drift. They don't choose a bad direction. They just never choose at all. They go along with whatever's in front of them, and then look up years later wondering how they got here. The answer is always the same. A long chain of yes to things they didn't believe in, didn't want, or knew weren't right for them. And enough of those, and you don't even recognize what you're living anymore. So learn to say no. Not aggressively. Not to make a point. Just honestly. When something doesn't feel right, say no. When something is draining your time, say no. When something is pulling you away from what you actually care about, say no. It'll feel awkward at first. That's normal. That's part of it. But it's nowhere near as uncomfortable as realizing you've been living according to what everyone else wanted while your own goals sat untouched. And when you actually start doing it, when your actions finally match what you think, something shifts. You start trusting yourself. Because now there's no gap between what you want and what you do. And that builds something most people overlook. Real self-respect. Not the kind you talk about. The kind that comes from watching yourself hold a standard and not break it. That's what separates people who get pulled everywhere from people who actually move. Not talent. Not luck. Just the ability to say no to the things that don't matter, so the things that do actually have room to grow. Because your whole life is shaped by what you say yes to. Every room you end up in. Every situation you find yourself navigating. Every person who gets your time. It all comes back to those small moments where you either held your ground or you folded. Most people don't see that pattern until they're looking back at it. By then, the cost is obvious. But if you catch it now, if you start protecting your decisions now, it changes everything. Because every no to something that doesn't matter is a yes to something that does. And the more you do that,